Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2024. I'm so excited that you are joining us for our first Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit of 2024. This summit will be focused on New Year, new beginnings. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers who are going to share some tips to help you make 2024 your best year yet. Before we get started, I want to give a chance for our speakers to get here. I want all of our participants to get on board. So make sure you let us know in the comments, where are you from? Where are you joining us from? So during our Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit, you'll hear from speakers who are experts in goal setting. So if you're trying to figure out how not to just set goals, but how to also achieve those goals, we have an expert goal setter and holistic life coach here to help you with that. We also have someone who's going to talk about dynastic wealth. It's not the same as generational wealth. So if you've never heard of dynastic wealth, make sure you stay on during the entire summit so you can get a piece of that. And then we'll wrap it up with joy. How do you make sure that 2024 is the most joyous year you've ever lived? There's something special about this year. When you add up 2024, 2024, you get 8. 8 means that new doors are opening. It's a year of financial success. So the wealth that you've been dreaming of, it's right within your reach. This is your year. You're going to make more money this year. You're going to see more money in your space than you've ever seen before. But you have to be ready to receive what already has your name on it. So that's why we are here networking, connecting, making sure we get the information we need to make 2024 the best year yet. So if you see somebody in your city, give them a shout out. Go in the comments, connect with people, connect with our speakers. These Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summits are all about connecting because there is somebody who needs what you have, but you also are the key to what somebody else needs. You just have to make those connections and make it happen. I'm so excited to get this summit started. I see people in the comments from Chicago. Hey, Chicago. New York in the house. Hey, New York. Who else do we have? We want to make sure you are engaged during this entire summit. So if you have questions, let us know. I have my phone on me during the summit, so I'll be responding to questions in the chat, and our speakers will do the same. But make sure you connect with us on Instagram. So you can find me on Instagram at Charlene Reinhart. And you can also follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel because we will be sharing content to help you level up in your finances every week in 2024. So make sure you are there and ready for that. We will also have more summits. So if you want more networking, make sure you attend our Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summits during the year. And last but not least, we have an investing challenge coming up, a 3-day investing challenge. So if you have no idea how to invest or how to get started on your journey, make sure you look at the link below, click on that link below to sign up for our 3-day investing challenge. I am giving away prizes, I'm giving away education, and we are doing this together. There's nothing like accountability when it comes to achieving your goals. All right, I see our speakers are ready. It's time to get started with the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. It is time to kick off our first Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit of the year. We are focusing on New Year, New Beginnings, and we have Dr. Shaniqua Johnson, CEO of A Better You, here to help us kick it off. Hi, Dr. Shaniqua.
Hey, girl. Hey, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, New Beginnings. So when you
Yes.
add up the numbers in 2024, 2024, you get eight. And eight is a powerful number. It stands for leadership, success, and wealth. There is so much to look forward to this year. What are you looking forward to in 2024, Dr. Shaniqua?
I am looking forward to my new beginnings, right? This is the year to try different things, to evolve, to expand in what it is that we want in life. So it's not a matter of just saying, this is what I want. How do we aggressively go after it? Like, I want to be super duper aggressive this year. I want to go after everything that my heart desires. So I say new beginnings is that perfect golden opportunity for you to do just that. You don't have to wait on the sidelines. And I know people always say, you know what? I got to have this right. And this has to be right. And the stars and the moons and their trees and everything has to be in alignment. But I am a firm believer that you have to go after your shot. We are not going to miss the bag because we're waiting for somebody to bring us this and to make us get set up with that. No, we want to make certain that we are not missing our shot this year. In fact, one of my favorite songs, I don't know if you all caught the play Hamilton. There's this song in there and it's called My Shot. And there's this chant in it. It says, I'm not going to throw away my shot. I'm not going to throw away my shot. So in 2024, I am not going to miss any opportunity. Everything that presents itself to me is going to either be my green light, my go-to, or it's going to be my lesson. It's going to be something that's going to strengthen me and encourage me to keep taking those shots after shots after shots. So if you just want to say shots, 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 you do what you have to do because I am going for everything new this year. Everything
Yes.
bigger, better, bolder, brighter. I'm going for my new beginnings. I don't know about you all.
I heard that. I'm saying shots, shots, shots. I'm going for my new beginnings. And I know you are a person who doesn't stand still. If there's
No.
something you want, you shoot your shot. So, can you give us
Yes.
examples of things you've done in the past to shoot your shot?
Listen, that's one of the reasons why I became an international TEDx speaker. It's because I shot my shot, right? I could have sat back and I could have just waited for these opportunities. I could have waited until I'm ready. There's a mentor of mine who always says, you have to start even when you're not ready. That's when the start begins. The start begins when you're not ready. The start begins when you committed in your mind and when you perch your lips to say, this is what I desire. This is what I want. In the beginning of the year, everybody's cutting and pasting, doing these little arts and craft projects that we love to call vision boards. But a vision board is nothing but a dream. It's nothing but a grocery list if you do not have the strategies in place to get it done. So you have to be willing to start before you're ready. So before you get the degree, before you get all of the trainings and all of the certificates, you've got to be willing to shoot your shot. And that's exactly what I did when it came to becoming a TEDx speaker. That was something that was on my vision board. In fact, I was so scared of it that I didn't even put it down in writing. I had it just in my mind. I did what was comfortable. I put down what was comfortable for me. But at the back of my mind, I knew that this is a goal that I wanted to achieve. But I tried to talk myself out of it. I said, no, girl, you got to get more training. You got to get more structure. You got to get more polished because you can't go in TEDx quoting scriptures and saying the word of the Lord. Everything has to be scientifically, factually based. You can't go from that religious aspect. And I said, listen, I got to speak to what's true to me. But what I did learn was you still have to take the shot. So even if you feel as though you don't have the right training, you don't have the right pedigree, if God says that this is an opportunity for you, you've got to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to boldly walk into those doors. And I did just that. And I was able to slay not only my speaking, I was on a panel discussion, and I got the chance to go to the motherland for the very first time in my life. So what a beautiful thing, but I could have missed it. I could have missed my shot saying that I wasn't ready. I could have missed my shot because saying I need more training, I need more of this. The start is before you're ready. And I put that to the test last year, and I'm willing to put that same practical knowledge to this year. And I'm going after everything. In fact, I was just speaking to one of my coaching clients, and we were having this discussion. She said, Dr. Shaniqua, I need to be a speaker. I'm trying to get like you. I want to get on stages and I want to speak to people from my heart about what I've been through in life and what I can do now. And so she called me up and she says, listen, I need some help. How do I know what price to put to this? How do I know what verbiage to say? And I told her, shoot your shot. I said, what do you need? What do you desire? Shoot your shot. Because you know what? At the end of the day, your price is your price, right? Your price is your price. But you have to be willing to stand behind it, committed, flat-footed, and say, this is my price. This is the shot that I'm taking. Because all they're going to do, they can tell you is no. Those two little letters are not going to hurt you, but it's going to prepare you for the next one. It's going to make you hungry for it. It's going to give you that drive, that momentum, that zeal to say, I'm going to keep going after it. When one door closes, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go knock on the other one, because that just wasn't my door. Because guaranteed, if it was my door, when I knock on it, it's going to go open. So I want everybody to be encouraged to say, you know what? Don't miss your shot this year because you say, I'm a single mother. I got the kids in school right now. It's not my time to go back. You do whatever it is that you need to do in this season, but you need to go after it aggressively. We can't be passive. We can't sit back and wait. Sometimes you got to create your own opportunities. If nobody invites you to come out and speak at their event, create your own. If you're not getting any podcast guest requests, interviews, create your own podcast. Don't wait for these opportunities to always present themselves with a pretty little bow wrapped around it. You can create them yourself. So this year, we're going after it all. We're going after every dollar. We're going after every opportunity. We're going after our health and our wellness, and we are ready to do so and make certain that we achieve these new beginnings.
Yes, this is the year when new doors are about to open in your life. But guess what?
Yes.
You have to be willing to walk through that new door. When you see a new door opening, don't just sit there because you don't think you are ready. Like Dr. Shaniqua said, you have to be willing to walk and move before you are fully ready. So let's make this an accountability session right now. In the comments, type what are you going to do this year before you are fully ready. What
Yes,
are
I love it.
you going to do this year before you are fully ready? Dr. Shanique, was there something that you are going to do this year before you are fully ready?
I am going to be available. It is my goal to be readily available for wherever God wants to take me. See, one of my favorite scriptures, and I've been on this scripture for a minute. So if you've heard me speak, you know what I'm about to say, because this has become my mantra as we entered into this new year. And it comes from one of the parables in Matthew chapter 25, where it talks about the master's going away on this extended trip. And he's leaving behind this money, these talents to his servants. But here's the catch. He gives each servant, he gives them each the talents based off of their abilities. I promise you, I am not trying to miss out on no gifts, no talents, no money that the Lord wants to bestow upon me because my ability is lacking. You hear me? Your ability is the circumstances you've gotten yourself into. You think because you're a single mom that you can't go on and do great things. Baby, that's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And I am a living testimony that as a single mother raising two young men, I not only got my master's degree during my singlehood, I went on and got my doctorate degree in my singlehood. And I started a couple of businesses at that, started a couple of podcasts at that. So can't nobody make me believe that because I am quote unquote a single mother, that I can't do X, Y, and Z. I can do all things because I know where my help comes from. And I'm not going to hold those excuses over my head any longer. I'm not going to let those excuses snuff out my abilities. I want God to be able to look at me and says, you know what? I'm going to give her more. I'm going to give her more health. I'm going to give her more wealth. I'm going to give her more investment opportunities. I'm going to give her more because of her abilities. So in 2024, what I'm going to do is to make certain that I got my ability in check, that I am readily available. So when anything God says, I need you to do this, I'm like, here I go, Lord. Here I am. I'm not hiding it. I'm not hiding my gifts in 2024. I'm not burying my gifts in 2024. I'm not dialing it down in 2024. And guess what else I'm not going to do? I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for my shine. I'm not going to apologize for the grace of God that's resting upon my life. I'm not going to offer no apologies to it. I am not going to bury what it is that God has put inside of me. 2024 is the year to get it out. It's the year of the new beginning, and we got to let this thing out. So what are you willing to let out? And everybody that put something in the chat box, I want you to go bigger. Well, see what you put in there? That was small. That was just to get you prepared. You were just warming up. But now I want you to put in the chat box what you're going to do, but make it bigger, make it brighter, make it bolder, make it something that you got to stand on your tippy toes in order to reach. Because you know what? This is your year. This is your year.
This is your year. You have me inspired. I'm motivated. I'm creating my list of what I'm going to do this year, Dr. Shaniqua. Wow.
Yes.
This is our year to claim our success. Stop denying yourself for an opportunity that God has already paved the way for. This is
That's
your
right.
year. Keep saying it. Look in the mirror. Write it down. Do what you need to do to remember that this is your year. We are so glad that you came here to the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit because you are around an amazing group of people who are going to help you bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. We are giving you resources, information,
Mhm.
inspiration, but you know what? It's up to you to drive, to put the keys in a car, drive where you want to go. And Dr. Shaniqua, I'm just so glad that you are here once again to help us kick off this summit.
I am so grateful for the opportunity. And I believe in what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing and that it is so super important for each and every one of us. Even us super bad sisters that got it going on and we got it all together. We need these constant reminders. So I am grateful that we are connected and I can serve as a vessel to remind you that what you're doing is important and how you're serving is even better. And you certainly are showing that you got the ability to receive even more than what God has given you in the last year.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for your support. There is somebody in the chat who is willing to support you as well. You
Yes.
never know who is around you. So make sure you are commenting in the chat. Make sure you are connecting with the speakers. You can follow Dr. Shaniqua on Instagram at Shaniqua Inspires. She is the CEO of A Better You, and you only heard a piece of what Dr. Shaniqua Johnson has to offer. Every time I talk to Dr. Shaniqua, I'm amazed. She's an author, a speaker, media personality. She's the one who helped me to get on this platform and start doing summits. So you never know how one encounter will lead to dividends for the rest of your life. Dr. Shaniqua, is there anything else you want to leave us with?
I want to leave everybody with the fact that this is the season to just start. In fact, I put that on my vision board at the very, very top. Just start. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Yes, you can put your eggs for later and say, you know what, I'm going to get this schooling, I'm going to get these certificates, but you still need to get started. So I want you to focus this first month of the year. I want you to focus on getting started. What does the start look like? Envision it, taste it, feel it, and just get started. So if you've got goals to lose 20 pounds, well, what does it look like to lose 1 pound? Right? Get started. Drink the water today. Get on the treadmill today. Like, get started wherever you are. If you want to be an author, write 1 page today. Come up with the title of the book today. Come up with the color scheme. Just start somewhere. Start somewhere, but just get started and know that help is available. You have my social media handles. Let's build a connection that may blossom into something more beautiful as a working relationship. But I invite you to just get started.
Just get started. Dr. Shaniqua, I think we have some speakers in the chat. I think we have our next TEDx speaker, our next author, our next presenter. There are so many talents around us. So if you are ready to get started, you are in the right place, because we have someone who's about to speak about writing the vision and setting goals. Everything Dr. Shaniqua Johnson just said, we are about to create a game plan to get you right there. And then if you're not feeling it, right, Dr. Shaniqua, there are days we are not feeling it. There are years when we are not feeling it. Something just may have messed up our year in 2023, but we cannot go into 2024 with that. So we are also going to have a speaker who's going to talk about finding joy again, no matter what you may have went through in 2023. That is key. We can't forget about mental health and self-care. So we have someone who's going to help us breathe. Pause and breathe. That is huge and is often forgotten in our busy schedule. So we'll be talking about that. So Dr. Shaniqua Johnson, thank you so much once again for kicking off the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit.
You're so welcome. Get your pen and your paper, everyone, because you don't want to miss this information. Because I know the last one, and if you haven't seen the last summit, you got to play catch up. But the last one was such a blessing. So I'm excited to hear and to connect with the powerhouses that you are going to bring to the stage.
Yes. All right. See you later, Dr. Shaniqua.
See you.
How are you feeling right now? Type in the comments, let us know. We have another big surprise for you. Right now, I'm going to bring up life coach, motivational speaker, holistic life coach. Let me repeat that. Motivational speaker and holistic life coach, Bossy, who's going to talk about goal setting. Hi, Bossy. How are you?
Hi, Carlene. How are you? It is so good to see you today. I appreciate you inviting me to be on today, the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. This is what every woman needs and every woman deserves. right?
Yes. And right now, it's time to prepare for the best year we've ever had, right? 2024 will be the best year you've ever lived. So, how do you make that happen, right? Well, by setting goals. And Bossy is the goal setting expert. So, Bossy, let's talk about 2024 and how we should start our goal setting for this year.
Listen, I am such a big fan of goals. That's why I started my company, Goal and Grind, because I believe that you can do more than a vision board, right? We've all had those years where we're like, okay, let me do this vision board. And now we've got this thing in our house with a bunch of magazine clippings. And at the end of the year, you're like, what happened? What I like to do is take it a next step further, go a little bit deeper, and focus not only on our own joy factors and what really makes us happy, but dreaming big and breaking those down into smaller, attainable goals that we can do one step at a time. So, what I like to do is focus on the whole woman, right? You are not just a mom, you are not just an employee, you are not just a daughter, a wife, a girlfriend, an employee. You are a whole person who deserves joy in the 4 key areas of life. So I break down goals into these 4 key areas: personal, professional, health, and financial. And it's such an empowering and exciting thing to do because you start realizing, like, yeah, I have all these career goals, but I also have personal goals. Maybe I'm trying to go on a vacation this year. Maybe I'm trying to, to do something really big in my life, a dream-sized goal. The way to get there is really thinking about your life holistically and how all the pieces are put together. If you think about it, you bring your whole self together.
Yes, I like that. So we'll have to go through those 4 types of goals that we can set and actually set them so that we can be accountable to achieving those goals. Jim Rohn, I loved listening to him, but he once said, you have to set a goal that's big enough that in the process of achieving that goal, you become someone worth becoming. So one year I set a goal to do a pageant because I knew that would push me outside of my comfort zone. So like Bossy said, you want to think about what are those personal goals that are going to get you where you want to go? So, Bossy, can we break down those 4 levels? Let's start with personal. What does that look like?
Okay, so I'm so glad you asked. And I also want to say, I intentionally put personal first, right? Because so many of us put our career or money first. No, you've got to put you first and at the center of things. Personal goals revolve around your personal joy. They're going to look different for each person. For me, that looks like having time to have spa days. That looks like having time to travel, having time to read. As you can see, I have a very robust book collection. So those personal goals are the things that you really do to replenish your own soul.
Personal goals. I like that. I've been thinking about that lately. I'm trying to maybe read a book every month. I'm trying to think about the best way to approach my reading goals because I know everybody has tried some personal goal for years, but guess what? That career goal or some other goal gets in the way. So how do we really prioritize our personal goals when there is so much going on? Like, how do I make sure I read one book every month in 2024, Bossy?
Right. So I think the big thing is to first realize that you deserve to have those personal goals, right? Like you deserve to have that time for yourself, to care for yourself, and to nurture your personal side. So I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, when I moved to Chicago, I came here, I had no job, I had no friends, but I had a goal in each area. And my personal goal was really to be somewhere that I could grow and flourish and where I just really felt like God had a plan for me. So being able to accomplish my personal goal meant that I was also able to accomplish some professional goals, which included changing industries. Right. And so when you start to look at your personal goals as being integral and also necessary to being able to accomplish your professional goals, your financial goals, and your health goals, they're going to start coming up in the list, right? And so I think the big thing is, first off, to accomplish these personal goals, you have to make sure that you have the understanding that they're just as important as the others because they support the other key areas. The second thing is making sure that you carve out time, right? And to carve out time, you need a support system. So when I have these personal goals, everybody in my circle knows about them, right? It's not just, oh, I'm keeping it to myself, I'm trying to read these books. It's that I'm telling my friends. So a great example is last year, I also wanted to do some more reading. I missed it, but I also felt like I really needed to get closer and in touch with what was going on with older Black women and how they were moving through the world. So I decided to read books and autobiographies written by Black women. And I started by reading Cicely Tyson's memoir. Oh my gosh, that kicked off the year with such joy for me personally that I was able to do a lot more in my financial side, a lot more in my career side, and a lot more in my health side of my life because I took that time for myself first.
I love it. So we really want to think about what time are we going to give ourselves? We allocate so much of our time to other things, but how much time? Is it going to be 1 hour, 2 hours a week, 10 minutes a day? Give yourself something or you'll end this year with nothing. Be intentional about the time you give yourself. I love that, Bossy. And you also mentioned accountability. So during this Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit, there are also people commenting in the chat. They're sharing their goals. There are people speaking. Bossy is up here speaking. You want to connect with her on Instagram at Goal and Grind, right? You want to follow like-minded people. Who is in your accountability circle? Who's going to help you get from where you are to where you want to be? Connect with somebody right now in the chat. Maybe it's on Instagram. Make sure you're connecting. This is your networking group to help you achieve your 2024 goals. Okay, Bossy, let's move on to number 2.
What should we think about? Okay, so I have a few different things because when you started saying connect, I'm like, yes, definitely follow me on Instagram. And spoiler alert, I haven't even shared it on my own page yet, but February 1st, I'm kicking off a self-love challenge because for Q1, I'm focusing on personal goals, as are all of my clients, and that's what we're doing as a community. So feel free to jump in on that self-care challenge. I have little bingo cards so that you can mark off and get your self-care in a fun way. But yes, what I think you should do is connect with community, right? And be sure that you're not just focused on those personal goals. You've got your personal, professional, health, and financial. And being able to say, what is the one thing I want to do this year related to each of those is going to help you exponentially. Also, thinking about what is that big picture goal, right? What does your dream life look like? All of your goals should go towards that. If you have something that doesn't go towards that, why is it there? Why is it there? If it's not getting you closer to your dream life, why are you working on it? Why are you focusing on it? We have a finite amount of time here that God has given us on earth, and we have to focus on what brings us joy. We have to focus on what aligns with our purpose. We have to be intentional about our time. So I challenge every single person out there that in 2024, you're going to be more purposeful with your time.
Yes. So let's talk about professional. How do we set professional goals? Is it just our performance review that we're submitting at work to let our boss know what we want to or what we expect to achieve this year? Or should we go bigger? Should we be thinking about our holistic selves in the professional process?
Got to think. I mean, I think you already know what I'm going to say, but let me just say it. We have got to think about our holistic selves, because how are you going to even perform your job if you are not happy at home? If you are not happy in your heart, you're going to be doing a disservice to yourself and others at work. So when you start to set those professional goals, you really got to think about, what's my dream life looking like? And I also want to say today, you don't have to be moving up. Right? Everybody's always like, okay, I want to move up to the next level. I want to move up to the next level. Well, guess what? It's perfectly fine to say, I want to be a subject matter expert. Maybe you want to manage people. Maybe you don't want to manage people. But I really think the most important thing is that you're setting your professional goals also from a place of joy, because you spend more time at work than almost anywhere else. You spend more time with your colleagues than anywhere else. Your professional goals should not only be about your growth as a professional, but how you can really attribute to the company. If you're not seeing ways that you can attribute to the company where you're working, newsflash, it might be time for you to start looking for jobs outside of that company. That's a really hard thing to hear sometimes. So I know you might be mad with me right now, but I'm saying it from a place of joy and love and purpose, because just like your personal goals, your professional goals need to align with that vision you have for your dream life. I will use myself as an example. 10 years ago, when I moved here from Oklahoma City, I had a really great job in Oklahoma City. I had a job that a lot of people wanted to have. I had a really robust network. Everything was great. I just didn't really like it. I wanted to move, right? I felt this longing in my heart to change careers and to live in a different city, right? And so I made the decision to do a very, very, calculated change. And not just on the whim. It might have seemed like it to the outside world, but I was really planning. And so that professional goal went hand in hand with my personal goal. And when I got to Chicago, I was very intentional about networking with people that were in the role that I wanted to be in. And that's how I was able to climb the corporate ladder at 3 different Fortune 500 companies. So when you're setting those professional goals, I really challenge you to focus on the joy in your heart and what you enjoy in your job, right? Ladies, it is no longer the day where we're like, what is it that I should be doing? We don't need to should on our lives anymore. Your professional goals need to be in alignment with who you are. And if that means you love numbers, I don't. I'm not good with numbers. I'm not great with them. I'm just going to say. So I could never do an accounting job. That's not in alignment. I'd be pulling my hair out. So I had to understand not only what are the skills that I possess that, are income and revenue generating skills, but I also had to understand the things that I enjoy doing. And there's overlap there. So your professional goals really need to be in alignment with your purpose. And so that's your big dream size life. And that overlap, that purpose between income generating skills and your joy factors.
Yes,
I hope that helps.
It helps, because it sounds like you really need to know who you want to become and where you want to be in order to figure out what you need to do now, right? And so thinking about what skills do you need to gain? Do you need certifications in order to be in a position that you aspire to be in? That's one thing that I had to think about when I was starting my career. When I was 23 years old, I was like, okay, if I'm going to study or work in accounting, I need to become a CPA because that's going to maximize my opportunities. But then at 24, I was like, okay, well, I want to go into more fraud. So let me become a CFE, certified fraud examiner, so that I can network with people in that space and go to conferences. You may also want to have conference goals, right, Bossy?
Amen to that. You said the number one thing, your network, because your network is your net worth. And you cannot even start to have professional goals without thinking about your network. You need to be talking to people who are where you're at so that you can understand. You might not take their exact path, and that's fine. But knowing the milestones along the way are going to help you exponentially with getting there.
Exactly. And use your job as an opportunity to network. My first week starting my first full-time job in corporate America, my boss told me to network with everybody in the offices. I was intimidated because they were all CFOs of their line of business. And I was like, well, what am I going to say to them? But you know what? That stretched me. And it allowed me to gain opportunities I would have never gained just because those people knew my name. They knew my skills, they knew my value, they knew my goals, and they could think of me when certain opportunities come up. So be intentional about who you are going to network with. Maybe also, how many people do you want to network with? Do you want to network with one person every month or every week? What can you do to build those relationships? I love it. And so number 3, health. Let's talk about health, Bossy. What should we be thinking about when it comes to our health?
Health is so important. I mean, God gave us one body and we've got to honor it, right? And so health goals can be so varied. This year my health goal is really to be in the gym twice a week, okay? Twice a week. I feel like as I've gotten older, things have fallen off. Your health goals, you want to make them something that are enjoyable to you, right? Because sometimes things like working out, you just don't like it. And that's why you've got to choose what brings you joy, right? Don't choose a workout that you're going to like wake up in the morning and like you would rather poke your eye out than do. It's not going to happen. You're not going to do it. You've got to choose goals that stretch you, but in a way that brings you joy, not stretches you in a way that makes you feel punished. So we're talking about health goals. Maybe you are trying to get over a hurdle. Maybe it's time to find a therapist. I remember there was a point in time where I said, I need a little bit of help, right? I need some extra support. I have beautiful, my mom's my best friend. My friends are incredible and they're very supportive, but I needed this third-party objective support. So I made it a goal to go out and find myself a therapist. I wrote down what I was going to be looking for in a therapist. I wrote down why I wanted this therapist, and I went out and got one. Love my therapist. Oh my goodness. She has helped me through so many different things, right? When I think about times whenever I've made changes with my company, Goal and Grind, or times when I've made changes in my corporate career, my therapist is actually one of the first people that I talk to. And I know that as a Black woman, sometimes, we can have all these different things coming at us, but to have someone who's objective and a third party to just reassure you and help you understand what you're going through, the mental health and the physical health, it is all connected. And ladies, if we are not taking care of both our physical and mental health, we're going to have struggles at work. We're going to be using more sick days. We are not going to be able to be going on those vacations we want to go on. We're not going to be able to read the books we want to read. Don't get me started on the health goals there. I'm getting at the age where I need readers. And I had to be really intentional about how I was talking to my ophthalmologist about what are the next steps? What are we doing here? Like, I can't see when I go to a restaurant at night. Anyone in here who's like right at 40, I think you know what I'm talking about. But I say that to say, at the end of the day, your health goals really stem from a place of joy, making sure we have the right team around us. I know this year for me, it's not just the workouts, but I really like to go and get some things done. So part of my health goals is always also taking naps. I like naps. They bring me joy personally, and they nourish my soul so that I can be out here doing things like this.
How many people love naps? When Bossy said naps, I was like, yes, that's me. I have to get my naps in. I wasn't like that in my 20s, but in my 30s, I need my naps. I'm not the same person without it. So you really want to think about your health goals because, like Bossy said, it's the foundation for everything else. And if you don't do it, you might have to learn the hard way, which I had to do. I put everything before my health, and then I had no choice but to sit down on bed rest after a surgery and recover because I didn't take my health seriously. And so think about what you are willing to do. Make small steps, right? If it's changes in your food was a hard one for me, Bossy. I used to love my sweets and snacks. If somebody tells me I can't have my potato chips, I have a temper tantrum. So I had to learn how to not have as many, like only have one bag of chips in the house. I used to think, okay, I need to have 5 bags of chips so that I can have it for the entire month and not have to buy it every week. That didn't work because those 5 bags of chips will be gone in that 1 week, right? And so if you know yourself, then think about, well, what can I put in place? What things can I do to make it easier for me to achieve my goals. Make it so easy. So don't have junk food laying around in your house. Have substitutes. Maybe some apples, pears, anything else like fruits have natural sugar, right? Think about what else you can do to replace that bad habit that can keep you down. Oh, I love health, Bossy. It's everything.
It is. It's huge. It's huge. I think I forgot to mention something that I'm doing this year because I really want to serve more people through Goal and Grind. And I realized to have that capacity, I had to tighten up my health a little. So I'm actually not drinking for the whole first quarter, which I know everybody's like, wait, what happened to a month? I was like, no, like I was just thinking about it. And I'm like, what am I really doing in January, February, or March in the dead of winter in Chicago that I need to be slinging it back? I don't. I'm fine. And it's been really refreshing, you know, dinner parties, everything like that. We had a girls' night last week and I didn't have anything to drink. And that meant I was able to wake up in the morning feeling more refreshed and able to focus on, you know, creating this self-care challenge that kicks off on February 1st. You know, I was able to really spend more time in my business because I'm more intentional about my health.
Yes, yes. So we have personal, professional, health, and I think number 4 is also one of my favorites, financial. Bossy, what should we be thinking about when it comes to our finances in 2024?
So here's the thing. Finances can be a touchy topic. I'll just tell you, I remember a time where I had so much debt, I didn't want to open the mail. Okay. I didn't want to open the mail. I didn't want to see that credit card bill. I didn't want to talk about it. Here's the thing. Now I know the key to having joy in your finances is talking about it. It is literally so empowering. So when you're talking about your financial goals, this more than anything, I say all goals are a team sport, right? Crushing goals is a team sport, but especially financial, because it can be so hard to talk about. That's where something like therapy comes in, because you've got to understand why, you know, it's why money is a scary topic. Now that I'm past that hurdle, you know, I'm not afraid of opening the bills anymore. I can put stuff on auto pay, which shout out to anyone who's afraid to put things on auto pay because you're about to overdraft. I was there. So the biggest thing I say about your financial goals is really being able to have an honest conversation, not only with yourself, but with at least one other person. I'm not even saying you have to run out and get a financial advisor, but at least have one person in your life that understands money, right? Who not only understands it, but is willing to share with you their journey. So the way that I went from having a bunch of debt to now not having a bunch of debt and being set up for actual retirement is that I got real honest about where I was. So when I set financial goals, and I suggest you do this too, look at your spending, okay? Don't set a goal. Again, just like she was saying with the health goals, don't set something and set yourself up for failure. The way you do that with financial goals is to look at your spending habits. First, you need to understand where you are so that you can make a plan for where you're going. So once you understand what your spending habits are, you know, you can say, I'm just throwing numbers out there. This is not like my numbers, anybody's numbers. But say you look and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm spending $1,000 a month on food because I'm eating out all the time. Either eating out, groceries, but combined it's $1,000. Maybe you want to save a little. You can say to yourself, I'm going to commit to spending $800 a month on food. Right? So you have all your budget categories, but when you look at them all together, you can see where you can start to save. So if you're going from $1,000 a month to $800 a month on food, that's $200 a month in savings right there. That can go towards paying down credit card debt. That can go towards, if you're already out of credit card debt, that can go towards putting money in your IRA, which if you are done paying off credit card debt, I highly suggest that you have, this is not like, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take it for that. But I suggest that in addition to your work retirement account, you think about working with a financial advisor to have one that's external to work as well, external to your employer as well. So the thing about your finances is set yourself up for success. Find someone that you trust and that you can talk to about your money, that you can lay out the plan and say, this is what's coming in every month. This is what I'm spending. If you're spending more than what's coming in, we've got to start by looking at where you can reduce. If you're not, we've got to start looking at where are we saving? Where are we saving? And then we've got to start looking at where are we investing, right? Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take this as that. What I am saying, though, is that your goals related to your finances, they can bring you joy. I promise they can, because I remember when I thought, no way, that is never going to happen. I hate money. I hate talking about it. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I don't know how I got to this situation. It's because it's not taught in school, and because I was set up for failure, and because the goals that I had around money were too big. You can't start investing when you've got so much debt. So let's start small, get an accountability partner, and have joy in it. Don't punish yourself about money. It's not your fault.
Yes, finances can lead to so much freedom. It's one of my favorite topics. And make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily channel if you want to make 2024 your best financial year yet. Like Bossy said, it's all about starting where you are, but not being afraid to grow as you go along on this journey. There is so much more waiting for you, right? You can get to the point where you are getting an extra stream of income from the companies you love in the form of dividends. But you have to make those initial steps to get your finances in order. And then your finances can start working for you. Talk about wealth, health, and self-care when your finances are working for you. So make sure you subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily. Every week we will be talking about finances. Now, as we wrap it up, we can't forget about joy, because you are the expert when it comes to joy. So, Bossy, how do we make this a joyous year as well?
The biggest thing is to honor yourself, honor your whole self this year. Think about what your dream size goals are and start cutting things out that don't relate to that. There is absolutely no reason that we should be spending time on things that don't get us towards our dream life. Now, I'm not saying go out there, quit your job if you hate it today. What I'm saying is think about making strategic moves towards having more joy. Also, think about what it is that brings you joy. I remember the first time I did this exercise, I sat down, I made what's called a joy bubble. Everybody, I challenge you today, take out a piece of paper, draw a circle on it, and just write down what brings you joy. Write it down. There's so much power in that. Every time you need to recognize what brings you joy, you need to also recognize yourself, right? So every time you have an accomplishment, cheer. And you better cheer loudly. Tell the world. I don't care if it's that you finally incorporated your first nap in a year, or that you got a huge promotion, or that you paid off $20,000 in student loan debt. I don't care how big or small it is. You've got to celebrate yourself, and you have got to celebrate others. Joy is about that community. Joy is about you and your uniqueness, and understanding what brings you joy empowers you to have more of it. I'm so excited. I know she's already said it, but come on over. I would love to chat more. My Instagram is @goal&grind. We're going to set big goals. We're going to grind them out one little step at a time. But I would love to stay in touch. Carlina, I thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. It's an honor and a blessing. And 2024, it's going to be everyone's best year yet.
Yes, it will. Thank you so much, Bossy, for joining us. And you forgot to mention that you also have a YouTube channel. So go on over to Goal and Grind YouTube channel. Yes. Bossy, now what's your YouTube goal? We're putting you on the spot. Do you have a YouTube goal for 2024?
I do. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love to be put on the spot. Let's go. So my YouTube goal for 2024 is to really grow the channel as a place where we can talk about personal joy, professional growth, healthy living, and financial freedom. And my goal is to start putting out one video every single week. I did that in October. I did that in November. I did that in September. So keep it going. And lastly, to do some live streams over on YouTube. We've done one before and it was so much fun, but picking that back up. Yes, that's my big YouTube push and dream for the year. And it's interesting because it's not actually about me. It's about everybody out there, because my big goal is I just want to see more joy in the world. That's it.
Yes, and that's why we're doing the summit. We're doing the Wealth, Health, and Self Care Summit so that we can share our gifts with the world and network. Make sure you network. I can't say that enough. There are people in the chat who want to network with you. There is somebody who needs exactly what you have. Guess what? They don't know you exist yet. There's somebody who has exactly what you need. Guess what? You haven't reached out to them yet. So this is your space to reach out and get all that has your name on it in 2024. Bossy, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with or share?
Let's see. You know what? I don't even think I've told you this yet. So, spoiler alert. Well, you were going to hear at the event on Saturday, but spoiler alert, I am launching a whole new community, the Goal Grinders community, a space for folks to continue having those more intimate conversations about their goals, right? To be able to share them. We'll be having regular like hot seat meetings where people can say like, oh no, I want to workshop through this, and have the space to do that as a community. So the new Goal and Grind Circle community is launching this weekend actually. And I'm really, really pumped to be able to provide a safe space for all of us to dream big and to be believed in, to be heard, and to be supported in a very joyful way, so that we can start living our dream lives.
Yes, I wish you nothing but success. I know this is going to be the year in which you are able to touch so many people through your calling. Thank you so much, Bossy. Don't forget to follow her on Instagram at Goal and Grind. Go on over to YouTube and follow her there. Thank you, good Bossy.
Thank you so much, Carlene. This was the best. You just made my whole day. Thank you to you. Thank you to everybody in the audience. We love you so much and appreciate your time. Time's your most valuable asset. So thank you for having the time to bring me on. And thank you, everybody in the audience, for being here.
Friendly reminder, don't forget to sign up for the 3-day investing challenge. Over those 3 days, we will be talking about saving, investing, your goals, and making sure you have an action plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So go to the comments, make sure you sign up, click on that link, put in your email so that you can get all the details so that you have your seat for the 3-day investing challenge. I'm so excited. Let's get back to our summit. I know you've probably heard of the term generational wealth. It's a buzzword, but what does it really mean? Well, we have an expert here, Dr. Latanya White, who's going to dive into generational wealth. Hi, Dr. Latanya White. How are you?
I am super excited. I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. This topic is so relevant. So you work on the intersection of racial equity and entrepreneurship curriculum design. That's very interesting. But I want you to go more into your background and what led you to talking about generational wealth and doing this type of research.
Sure. So what I'll try not to do is start back for my 13th birthday, which I know for me truly was my origin story for developing this identity of being an entrepreneur. So kind of fast forwarding through, childhood and really figuring out why wasn't my mom able to be with me on milestone birthdays? And in retrospect, it was because she hadn't been the beneficiary of any inherited wealth. So she had to like grind it out and make ends meet, right? I think that's the story that a lot of us face. And so my challenge as I served, I taught entrepreneurship at Florida A&M University for 11 years. And a part of my advocacy and my passion for entrepreneurship was because I didn't have the language for it, right? I didn't have the logic for it, but somewhere like deep in my soul, I knew that entrepreneurship had to be a way to unlock access to wealth that my mom, although she had worked, her 30 years, got to retirement, we're still finding our way when it comes to economic mobility in a lot of cases. And I just had this idea that if there were more students at HBCUs, more Black families, more Black communities where we had control over how and when we created our own income and our own revenue, that things could really be different for my daughter and for those generations to come. And so that's what led me to my doctoral studies. And I was looking at Black entrepreneurship. I was looking at the racial wealth gap. But one of the things that I came across in my research was this idea of wealth dynasties and dynastic wealth. And so I was like, well, what is this? I was so excited. Like literally the model was there, right? This is what you do. This is how you're generating money. This is how you inform the rest of your family about it. This is how you package it and protect it. And I said, this is it. This is the blueprint. And then I realized that my family narrative, like my ancestral narrative, had not been accounted for in these steps, right? There was no discussion about how do you maneuver, how do you navigate through these types of conversations about money with a family that's never experienced money in excess, right? Like we make it to be able to keep the lights on, to survive, but we hadn't yet gotten to the point where we were thriving financially. So how can I talk to an entire Black family, right, about creating wealth that we're going to transfer to these next 2 or 3 generations when we're trying to get it for ourselves? And so what I had to do from what I learned was contextualize all of these steps, all of these different forms of capital for the Black experience, for the cost of being Black in America, for these systemic barriers to wealth building. I had to make sure that those things were accounted for in my approach to wealth transfer and to dynastic wealth.
You mentioned this idea of going from survival mode to thriving. And you see decades later that we are still in that survival mode, right? When you look at the stats, Black families achieve considerably less wealth than white families, with the median net worth of $24,100, $24,100, which is around $2,000 a month. Now, for white families, that number is $188,200. So first we have to think about, okay, well, what is generational wealth? What is wealth? How do we define it so that we can determine why we are so far behind? So can you define it for us?
Well, I'll say that my expertise is more on dynastic wealth. So what I learned was, while, to your point in your opening, we're celebrating, we're as a people and as a culture, we're so excited about this idea of generational wealth. And for the most part, if you look up the definition of generational wealth, it's transferring financial assets from one generation to another. And hands down, that is extremely important. But if I present to you, and most of us have heard of the Rockefeller family, but if we really look at the nuances and the details of the Rockefeller family, John D. Rockefeller was the founding entrepreneur in that family. And they they went under this antitrust lawsuit, 1911. They had to break up the company. So here we are in 2023, almost 2024. The Rockefeller family remains one of America's 25 wealthiest families without having a core business. So it can't just be money that we're passing down to maintain and control wealth in these families. And that's where the dynastic wealth framework comes into play. That's where these qualitative forms of wealth come into play. So it's who are you as a family? What's your family identity, especially around money and wealth? How are you protecting that identity as well as those financial assets? And so when we're talking about generational wealth, that's the first pillar. But if we want to ensure that our grandchildren, so the third generation from me is still in this place of upward economic mobility, I have to pass down more than just money to them. And it does have to come around passing down relationships, family history, family recipes, right? Those are things that are almost culturally specific to the Black family, at least as what's emerged from my research.
So we are taking this conversation deeper. It's not just the money we have to think about, right? We don't look at the number of zeros in our bank account, because the next generation could easily spend that money within decades, and your family has nothing to pass on to future generations. So let's take a step back and look at your generational wealth model as it relates to families. Where do you start?
So with the dynastic wealth, and so let me share this. I'll take a couple steps back. I was so excited. So the research shows that a family reaches dynastic status once they have control either the wealth that they are generating. So think of the Rockefeller family, the wealth that they're generating, or the business that they founded. So think of the Walton family, the Walmart family, for 3 consecutive generations. So from me to my daughter and just passing down money to her, that's generational wealth. From me to my daughter and to her children, from me to my sister and my cousins, from me to my mom and my aunts and uncles, and even my grandmother, that's dynastic wealth. So in dynastic families, the wealth isn't only transferred down, it's transferred in multiple directions. In dynastic families, the wealth isn't transferred just from one generation to the next, but in how they operate their business, how they establish their trust, and how they inform each other in their family interactions. And as a sidebar, these families do not have family reunions. They have family retreats. They have business meetings where they're doing portfolio analysis, right? Where is our money going? How are we training the next generation, the rising generation, for leadership in the family? Those things are beyond financial assets, right? It's about who are you in this family? What are your passions, skills, and abilities? And what's my responsibility as an elder and in our family to make sure that you self-actualize? How do I make sure that what you're good at, we help you learn how to operationalize and monetize so that you bring money back into this family doing what you love? It doesn't have to be my business, but we do as a unit need to ensure that we are controlling this wealth for 3 consecutive generations. And so those are the major points of distinction between what we understand generational wealth to be and the potential that we have to build Black dynasties.
So would you say generational wealth is completely different from dynastic wealth, or it's the first level of wealth that gets you to thinking about dynastic wealth?
Absolutely. It definitely is that first building block, because, right, there will be no dynasty if there is no money to pass down.
Yes.
Generational wealth, like that transfer of financial assets, is absolutely essential. There isn't any research to date that puts a number on your dynastic family if your family worth is this amount. It really is about control, right? And we see that a lot in political arenas, in sports and business arenas. It's about control, because we can own a pair of Jordans, but how much control do you have in how Nike says they're going to operate their business?
So you're talking about control versus ownership,
Yes.
because we've had a lot of ownership conversations. We need to own this and that, but that's not the only conversation that we need to have. We need to take it up a notch and talk about control. Well, what does control look like? What conversations do we need to have now so that we can think in a control mind frame?
Mm-hmm. So we talk about governance. So as the Black families that I work with, we'll look in. So first, we have to start with making sure that everybody ain't gonna be on the same page about what money means, about what wealth looks like. But as we work together through book club meetings and questioning and interviews and surveys and really kind of pulling all that family data together, when we're talking about control, we're talking about governance. We're talking about what are the rules, what are the policies that we operate by, and what's my influence on those policies, right? So in building out your family constitution and creating your family trust, the families that I work with, everybody's voice matters. And so what ends up happening is there's some family dynamics where, especially let's say you're the youngest, people have not taken you seriously in a lot of cases. So my role is to help amplify the value of that person's voice. That person's input goes into how this entity, I don't want to say a business because it doesn't have to be a business, but how are you protecting and operationalizing how you keep your money in your family? And so your role in that is a position of control, because you have a say in this. You have input. Your voice and your influence matters about what 3 generations from now, right? 4, 5, 6 generations from now, what will they experience because of your lived experience?
When I think about this, I think about the current family structure for so many people.
Mhm.
And it's, you have the people who may have gone through the educational system, and so they have more access to resources. And you may have those who are more so borrowers because the cost of living is too high for the income that they bring in. And so they're constantly borrowing every week. And so you have that person who's helping to care for an entire family unit, right? Their cousins, uncles, aunts, because they are the ones who so-called made it.
Yeah.
Right. And so now, how do we shift that conversation? Let's say this person who has access to these resources, they're like, okay, I want to bring my family on board so that we can have these conversations, so that we can go from family reunions to family retreats. But how do I enlist the other members of my family and make that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's where I was actually. So my family and I, May of 2024 will make 4 years that we've been doing this work. And it started because I was in my literature review, getting ready to get into like the data part of my dissertation, but I realized that I needed to develop my data collection skills. So I created this survey and I was just sharing it with my family. I asked them I was curious about their wealth personality. Like, how do you identify? What's your relationship with money and with wealth? Because I was just learning that income and wealth were different constructs, right? I was today years old finding that out. But what I learned from that survey, and so when I'm working with families, that's where we start. We need this benchmark data. We can't assume that we know a person's relationship with money, and if they want to talk about money in a family setting or in a group setting. So from the survey, what I learned was that there were, and I mean, real estate professionals, educators, healthcare professionals, to your point, the people that had made it who admitted to not having a vision for their wealth. So the first thing that I needed to do was understand that we all had these different experiences that led us to where we are with our interactions with money. And so kind of fast forward a couple of months, I landed on this book. It's titled The Whiteness of Wealth. And so to really getting to your question, I think that book, and that's one of the books that I use in the book club, is that helped everybody see their role, because I have been coming to this conversation about wealth through this lens of entrepreneurship, right? So that was my positionality, but I was the only entrepreneur in the family. So I could see why don't nobody want to talk about that. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? But through The Whiteness of Wealth, Dorothy A. Brown is the author, Black woman, female tax attorney in the Atlanta area, I want to say. And in each chapter, she talks about the tax structure, the U.S. tax structure on home ownership, college, K through 12 learning, real estate development, retire, every different part of life, and how there are barriers built into the U.S. tax policy that prevent Black and brown families from building wealth. That was when we got to the place as a family unit where we could all say, oh, I understand how this relates to me. What are we going to do about it? And so I think, in short answer to your question, it really comes down to helping people first see themselves, because sometimes we're going back to our earlier part of the conversation. We're so busy making ends meet. We're so busy surviving that we don't have the bandwidth, right? To see down the line 3 or 4 years, like, what is this decision going to cost me? Or what price have I already paid? What have I already sacrificed to be here? But The Whiteness of Wealth is a great starting point for a lot of Black families.
I am adding that to my list. The Whiteness of Wealth by Dorothy A. Brown. We need to have a follow-up conversation about that after I read it. I love that. I was just thinking about conversations with family members and making sure everybody is on the same page. Like you were saying, we all may have certain views about things based on our experiences. And we may not even think about income and wealth being two different things. Income is what you make. And as soon as you leave this earth, it can disappear. You can't pass on your income to the next generation, right? So you have not made it just because you made a certain amount of income. But your wealth are the assets that you've accumulated, that you own, that can be passed down. So you want to be thinking about the difference between the money that goes into your pocket and the money that you keep every year, and transfer that into an asset so that it goes beyond you. I like that. I like having those conversations to see where everybody is at, so we can then go to the education piece of it and identify those gaps in education among us. But I also like that you said, let's identify everyone's passions in the family, because everybody's contribution doesn't need to look the same, but we all need to make a contribution to the family plan in order to make it work. And that probably goes to your framework that you have behind you. I see your framework. I'm so curious about it. So can you let us know, what is your framework about? Break it down for us.
Oh my goodness. Oh, now I know we don't have too much more time, but this is what I love. What I love to talk about. So what I'll make sure to do is share the image for you, and maybe this will help if everyone can see. So at the top, we start with dynastic wealth. And this is really where we are beginning with the end in mind, right? So we're thinking about, what do we ultimately want to create? What do we want to leave behind? And that's a dynasty where, for at least the next 3 generations, we've done our work to ensure that they're set. So under dynastic wealth is this idea called a generative script. And that's the narrative. That's the story that I tell me about me. That's the story that says, although the internet makes entrepreneurship look like the easiest thing since sliced bread, I'm committing to this work because I am creating something different. I am creating better. I'm creating greater than what I had, right? Through no fault of my own. I'm creating better opportunities for generations to come. So that's the generative script. That's me creating these opportunities for economic economic mobility through my own endeavors. And so we get into from there the establishment of these different forms of wealth. So there's the financial wealth, right? We talked about that's our building block, that's generational wealth. And so because my research really focuses on Black entrepreneurship, I study financial wealth through entrepreneurial income. But that's not to say your real estate income. That's not to say anything that you're doing outside. So maybe you're doing infinite banking through your insurance policies. That's not to say that you aren't able to build financial wealth through other means. The dynastic wealth framework, though, just has studied wealth building and wealth accumulation through the Black entrepreneurial experience. My favorite part of the framework, though, is spiritual wealth. So spiritual wealth is where we're talking about family identity. Spiritual wealth is where we're saying, what are the things that we value? What are the things that we want? 60 years from now, the generation that's emerging 60 years from now, which I may not be around to meet or interact with, what do I want them to know about who they come from, where they come from? And so spiritual identity is really this opportunity for Black families to take ownership, for lack of a better term, to take ownership of how future generations identify themselves, so that my daughter, she knows who she is from me and from our family, and not from social media, not from pop culture, not from whoever is controlling the public narrative about Black identity, right? She knows who she is because of what she's done and what she's been a part of in this family. So family identity and family values, that leads us into how are we going to document this? Just as a sidebar, the Department of Agriculture has this report that I referenced as I was doing my research. In the Southeast alone, Black family wealth we've lost somewhere around $1 billion in wealth because of heirs property, because no one knew whose name was on the deed to the land. Right. And so it's things like that we have to capture in our spiritual identity that helps these future generations say, oh, this is who I am. Right. I don't need Instagram or TikTok telling me what I'm supposed to be doing or who I'm supposed to be. Like, this is who I am. And so those things really feed into the governing document. So getting back to control, the governing documents of the family trust. And the family trust says, this is how we hope that you would, it's a little bit more rigorous than hoping. This is how you will use this money that we have set aside for your own economic well-being and your own economic mobility. So in my family, after a lot of discussion, there are 16 tax-paying adults that are a part of the family trust that we're building and funding. So that's why it's been 4 years, right, that we've been working on this thing. But that's also 4 years of mistakes and conversations and analysis that I've learned that I can save anybody else from having to extend their journey for that long. But our family trust in draft form now says that there are 4 things that you can request a distribution of wealth from our trust. And ain't nobody paying for no medical bills. We're not paying for no hospital bills. We will help you buy a home. We will help you advance your education. We will help you start a business, or we will help you start a philanthropic endeavor. Those are the 4 things that we agreed are going to be crucial to economic mobility. Now, kind of going back to ain't nobody paying for no funerals, right? A part of our family trust is that everybody individually has their own estate planning documents. So I would still have my own healthcare directive, my own will, my own living trust for my daughter. But our family trust is what we're looking at for collectively generations to come. And so to your point, we would definitely have to have a follow-up conversation, but because that's just spiritual wealth, right? There's also the wealth of knowledge, where we're capturing those family recipes, because that's wealth, right? It may not be money, but it's wealth. the investing in intellectual wealth. So what are you good at? How do I help you self-actualize and master that skill? And then on relational wealth, how do we ensure that leadership development is happening in the family? How do we ensure that you are being introduced to philanthropy as early as possible? It's not something that we have to wait to do until we're old. Philanthropic endeavors in service to the larger community can happen right now today. And so the dynastic wealth framework kind of encompasses all of those things.
Dr. Latanya, you got me excited. All right. I want to do a full deep dive into all of this because you are hitting on so many points that I've been thinking about lately.
Mm-hmm.
I have an 80-year-old grandmother, and I'm thinking I need to document everything so that future generations can understand how our family made it to this city and what's our history, because that will impact how they show up in this world.
Yes.
Oh, I love this so much. So how do you help people? I'm sure there are so many people who want more information. How can they reach out to you? What services do you offer?
What I love to do, so you and I were sharing earlier, I did a lot of the technical assistance when I was teaching at FAMU, and that's where I help the individual entrepreneur. And because there's so many technical assistance programs and so little insights around the family unit, especially Black family wealth development, that's where my committee member, she's like, that's where you dance. And I think that's really where God has called me to serve. So the work that I do, the services that I provide is typically working with families, Black families, and that's as large or as small as you're comfortable with. That's your blood family or that's your found family, right? I know I'm closer to some of my friends than I am to some of my family members, and that's okay. So a part of those services is, as I was sharing, kind of walking through that baseline. Where are you? What's everybody doing? What's that insight? And then we build out their dynastic wealth documents. We'll draft the family constitution. I actually, although I'm not an estate planning attorney, I sit on the board for the Association of Black Estate Planning Professionals. And so matching families and founders with Black estate planning professionals so that they can get their documents, their trust documents. But that's some of the work that I love to do for families. Now, on the institutional side, I work with entrepreneur support organizations to make sure that the Black and Brown founders that they work with know what dynastic wealth means. And so that they aren't leaving these accelerator programs or these pitch competitions with no clue about, well, what do I do with the money, right? How do I make sure that the next 3 generations are able to benefit from what I've done today?
I love it. Is there anything else you would like to share with us? So if anybody is just joining us, make sure you follow Dr. Latanya White on LinkedIn at Meet Dr. White.
Yes, please. So what I'll be doing in the new year is just hosting open house, like virtual open house events, where you dropping in and doing these deep dives like on a regular basis. So for those that are interested in learning more about what this could look like for your family, I love to connect with you. I was sharing with you, like, I have a profile on Instagram, but I'm not really on Instagram. So find me on LinkedIn and we can connect from there.
All right. Follow Dr. Latanya White on LinkedIn at Meet Dr. White. Dr. White, this has been a pleasure having you on to discuss dynastic wealth. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in a comment. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Up next, we have Latricia Lofton Russell, a true pageant enthusiast and a dedicated leader in women's ministry. She's the founder of Little Miss US of A pageant and the visionary behind Minister Her, a platform celebrating women in ministry through podcast, inspirational apparel, and scripture-based scented soy candles. I feel a sense of relaxation just saying that. Now, with a rich background in pageantry, Latricia has worn many hats, including reigning as world's perfect classic woman, serving as a pageant judge and coach, and most importantly, being a proud pageant mom to her daughter, who reigned as Miss Hampton University. She has judged and coached for the Miss America organization, Miss United States, and numerous others, and even had the honor of directing Cynthia Bailey's Miss Renaissance pageant with a special cameo on Real Housewives of Atlanta. As a graduate of Hampton University and Maryland Theological Seminary, Latricia is currently a professor at the Maryland Theological Seminary. You are in for a treat today. She's here to inspire you to the next level of your joy. She's going to help us to rediscover joy in our lives with her talk, Learning to Walk in Joy Again. Help me welcome Latricia Lofton Russell.
Wow, thank you so much. Can you come with me all the time? And, yes, come with me all the time. Thank you so much, Charlene. When I say that this is truly an honor, I really want you to understand that it is. And I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. So, family, how you doing out there? I am so honored and so delighted to share this time and share this space with each and every one of you. And so I know that you've received so many great nuggets, and my hope is that I have something to share that you can take with you to make life even better. So let's jump right in, shall we? So I want you to learn to walk again. I want you to learn not only just to walk, but I want you to learn to walk in joy again. So 2020, and I'm just going to be transparent, 2020 was a nightmare for me, and not, in the way that many of you would think, because yes, the world was walking in a pandemic. And while others were fighting to be isolated from one another, my sister was fighting for her life in reference to metastatic breast cancer. And so unexpectedly, it really turned for the worse. And she went into the hospital. And of course, we couldn't visit her or anything because of the pandemic. And the Lord called her home. And so, I thought that would just break me into pieces. Then to find out being at home, I walked downstairs just 5 months later, thinking that my 21-year-old daughter was meditating, to realize, family, that she wasn't meditating, but she had been called home to glory as well. And so you can imagine the devastation when you just walk downstairs thinking that, your 21-year-old is just enjoying a time of meditation, to find out that it's something different. And so, of course, EMTs come, and unfortunately, it's too late for them to do anything. And so because of her age and because of there being no explanation as to why, forensics had to come, detectives had to come. There were police cars all up and down my street. And so on top of grieving and being devastated, you have to deal with questioning and things of that sort. And then also my 21-year-old was a social influencer. She had 250,000 followers. And so her followers were coming hard for my daughters and I, my other two daughters and I, to tell them, be honest with us, tell us what happened. But we were unable to share because we ourselves did not know. And it took months for the medical examiner to come to the conclusion that she suffered from cardiac arrhythmia, which is when a vessel in your heart is weak and it explodes all of a sudden. So there is no pain, thank the Lord, but devastated that word doesn't even describe it. So when I tell you, I know what it feels like to feel like you just want to be in a dark hole for the rest of your life. You don't ever feel like you're going to be happy again. You don't ever feel like you're going to smile again. Even if someone texted me good morning, I was upset. Good morning. What's good about it? Like, I didn't even want to hear good morning. I didn't want to hear hello. I didn't want to hear anything. And this is after growing up as a PK. For those of you who don't know what a PK is, it's a preacher's kid. And so I had been a preacher's kid all my life, and, really had a strong foundation in reference to my relationship with God, but didn't want to hear any of that, because I felt like I had prayed so hard. I had been positive through my sister's illness. I was positive through it all. And the audacity for my sister to be called home, and the audacity for my daughter to be called home unexpectedly, and to have social media and news media to attack me and my children during that time of grief, saying that we were hiding something. All of it was absolutely devastating. So don't know what you've walked through. Don't know what you are walking through. Life is hard. As the children said, life be lifing, and it's absolutely not a joke. So, first of all, when you encounter somebody, be careful how you treat them. Because, of course, even while I'm walking through this, of course, I still have to go to the store, I still have to work, we still have to do all of these things, and I still have to interact with people who have no idea what I'm walking through, meaning the grief and the heartache. So, I'm just saying, when you see someone, no matter what they look like, lipstick on, earrings done, hair done, hair cut, all of that, it does not mean that they are not walking in hurt. So now let's talk about what you do when you just want to be in a dark hole, because all of us unfortunately have been there. So you're in this dark hole, don't want to be bothered. Every text message bothers you. Unfortunately, a lot of times when this happens, people really don't know what to say. So some of the things that they say may really be triggering or make you angry. And so you have to decide within you what you're going to do. I was also petrified, I have to admit. I was scared that when my sister went on to glory, that it would tear apart my other sister and my parents. I was scared when my daughter was called to glory, that it would tear apart my relationship with my husband and with my children. But you have to make sure to do what you can absolutely do to make sure that that doesn't happen. Life has already taken something away from you. Don't allow it to take everything else, but you have to make that decision. So, first, you got to army crawl. You know how a baby does? So we're all excited, moms and dads. We're excited when the baby begins to move, and you can tell the baby wants to move forward, and the baby's doing that army crawl. And so, after the army crawl, the baby is able to push up just a little bit and land on their knees and land on their hands, and they're able to actually crawl. In life, sometimes you got to do the army crawl. If all you can do is get up in the morning, get out the bed and take a shower, celebrate that. Don't act like anything is too small. That's your way to be able to walk again. That's your way to be able to find joy again. Celebrate everything small, because they end up adding up to be something big. Celebrate everything that's small. Celebrate the fact that you were able to eat a meal, even if it was just a couple of bites, because sometimes when you're walking through tremendous hurt or heartache, you don't have an appetite. So celebrate the fact that you could have chicken broth that day. Celebrate the fact that you could take down a couple of sips of Gatorade. All of it is heading towards you walking. All of it is heading towards your restored joy. Don't take it lightly. Take it all in and celebrate it. Celebrate even when you receive the text that says good morning. And although you may feel like it is absolutely not a good morning, the fact that someone is thinking of you and loves you enough and cares for you enough and adores you enough that they desire to reach out even when their life is hectic, even when life is busy, that also is something to celebrate. Some people have absolutely no one in their lives to love on, to care for, who cares about them, who adores them. So all of that is something to celebrate. That's part of your army crawl. That's part of your push-up crawl. And then if you have to stay there a minute, it's okay. Don't feel ashamed about it. A baby doesn't feel ashamed. A baby is celebrating the fact that it is moving. Family, we got to move. So we army crawl. Then we pull up crawl. And then it's time to find something and pull up. You know how a toddler will find absolutely anything and pull up? Like you have to watch what's around them because you don't know what they'll pull up on. Anything that's around you, find the strength to pull on it. Pull on it. Pull on any type of joy that you can have. If you have a favorite song and back in the day that song used to make you want to dance, then you play that song. And although today you may not want to dance to that song, it will trigger something to remind you of the joy. It will trigger something to remind you of the strength. Watch a favorite TV show. For me, I love Good Times, and people think I'm crazy, but Good Times cracks me up. And so find that thing that brought you joy as a child. A lot of times we have to reach back into our inner child and find her again. Find her again, talk to her again, play with Legos, find a coloring book, whatever it is that you need to do that's going to bring you some joy, even if it's for a few minutes, then that is what you do. And that is called your pull up. And family, after you pull up and you're on your knees, oh, honey, it's not far to go after being on your knees. But if you have to stay on your knees for a little while, then you stay there. and celebrate the fact that you're no longer army crawling. Celebrate the fact that you're no longer on a push-up crawl, that you're now on your knees. Celebrate it. That's walking towards your joy. That's getting you closer to the walk. That's getting you closer to your joy again. And after you pull up, honey, find something nearby to pull up even more where you can rest on your feet. And even if you need to lean on something to rest on your feet, even if you need a cane or whatever it takes, even if you need someone to hold you as you're standing on your feet, there's victory there. There's joy there. There's celebration there. You're no longer laying prostrate and just feeling like you want to die. You have now army crawled. You have now push-up crawled. You have now pulled up, and you are now on those 2 feet. What? I'm telling you, it's what you do, and it will allow you to be better and to be stronger and to be wiser. For those of you who love gospel music, come on, Marvin Sapp. And so, my family, all of us decided to find therapists, and everyone found a different therapist because you have to find the right one for you. Just like you have to find the right significant other. The Jim won't be the same for Sally as he is for Jill. You know what I'm saying? So you have to find the right match for you. And if it takes a minute to find the right match, that's okay. But try to find the right match in reference to a therapist because they are gifts from above. Lean in to how you're feeling. Don't be ashamed of it. Embrace it because we cannot conquer it until we embrace it and know what it is. And so trust, that someone is gifted enough, just like you may be gifted in the culinary arts, or you may be gifted in dance, or you may be gifted in architecture, whatever you're gifted in. This person is gifted in therapy and allowing you to see things another way. Allow them to walk in their gifts so that you can once again find your gift. Family, I'm telling you, there is joy after this. There is joy after what you're walking through. You just have to trust it, and we seek joy intently, don't we now? We go after our dreams. We work to purchase the hottest items because if I have that Louis Vuitton bag, or if I have those Louboutin shoes, or if I have that Gucci then, I may feel better. We pursue joy in different ways. We seek to find the perfect love. If I could just find the perfect love, I could have joy again. We check to see if our posts have gone viral, because if I can feel like a celebrity and I can feel like I'm validated, then I can find joy again and I can walk again. If I can just get that arousing round of applause, I can walk again and I can find joy again. And goodness knows we do need those moments. We do need those moments. It's a beautiful feeling. It gives you a burst. It gives you the charge that you need. And it is a gift. But I want to remind you something. So my dad he has all girls, and I also have all girls, but now I also have a bonus son. And so, but my dad was determined that we needed to know how to do things for ourselves because he didn't want us to have to depend on someone else. So one thing that he taught us was the maintenance of our car, changing the oil, how to change a tire. So I'm in the car with my 3 daughters at the time. This is before my baby went to glory. And I'm in the door, and they're little now, like they're little. And so I'm in the car and we're driving, and we're on the highway, and it's dark. And it's a highway that doesn't have a lot of street lights, as we call it in Baltimore. And so the car begins to putter, and then I hear a, well, Lord, behold, my tire has blown. So I'm panicking a little bit because the road is dark. I'm panicking a little bit because I have my toddlers in the back, and they're 3 and they're stair steps. And I'm panicking a little bit because I don't want to be out here by myself doing this. But, I put on my big girl, stuff, as they say. And I go out and I'm in the trunk and I'm trying to recall everything my father taught me when I was 16. And so I'm in the car and I am looking for the jack, and I'm looking for, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but I'm looking for all of the things. And Lord and behold, they're not there. And nonetheless, a tire isn't there. So you talking about panicking? Wait, what? So I'm on a dark road, no lights. My toddler's in their car. Cell phones were really a big thing then. And so what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to walk by myself and leave them in the car to go find help? Am I supposed to walk them with me and we're on the highway? Like, what am I supposed to do? But someone does stop and they give me their phone because, they were rich back then. And I call roadside assistance. And honey, Lord and behold, roadside assistance told me that because of the car that I had selected, I had run flat tires. And I never knew what a run flat tire was, but a run flat tire, family, is your car is equipped so that as a consequence, you are allowed to drive 35 miles per hour up to 50 miles. What? Wait. I can keep moving. I can get my children to somewhere safe. I can be safe. My car will continue to roll for as long as I only take it slow. So that was a life lesson for me. I was preaching to me because family, when you're trying to walk again, family, when you're trying to find joy again, sometimes we have to take it slow. And we have to appreciate the fact that we can take it slow. Normally, I want to go 80 miles per hour. Don't tell nobody. But going 35 miles per hour in that place was joy to me. It was victory for me. It was a celebration for me. It was walking for me because I could appreciate going slow because it was better than being stopped. Did you hear that? I could appreciate going slow because it was better than being stopped. Family, as you're reestablishing your ability to walk, as you're reestablishing your ability to find joy, know that sometimes you have to take it slow and appreciate it. Then no, you don't have to go 80 miles per hour. You shouldn't be going 80 miles per hour anyway. But you can go 35 miles per hour and appreciate it. That's the way. Put on your hazards. Let people support you. Go slow. Get in the slow lane. Celebrate every piece of it. And you will get there. There is real joy when life gets real. Take it slow. Go in the slow lane. Army crawl. Push up crawl. Kneel. Pull up. Stand on your feet. Go as slow as you can. Stay in that slow lane. Celebrate every piece of it, every piece of the victory. Lean into those who love you. And I promise you, you will walk again. And not only that, you will walk in joy again. Bless you, sisters. You got this.
Wow. That was so powerful. I want to thank you. Thank you for allowing God to use you in this way. Thank you for allowing somebody else's pain to become purpose in this moment. Somebody was called to be on here today. They don't know why they were called to be here, but they were called to be here. And I'm sure they took away something that can change the trajectory of their life, because when you take those small steps and go slow and know that you won't be stopped, that can change everything. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, of course, we cannot let Latricia Lofton Russell leave without doing Q&A, because you gave us so much in that time period. And so my first question, you talked about grief and the feelings associated with it. But for someone who knows someone else who is dealing with grief, what do you say to that person? How do you respond? What's the appropriate way to care for somebody during that time?
You know, I think sometimes life has just taught us that we have to have something profound to say. We just have to have that something, because what we're going to say is going to make that person feel better. Take that away. You know, don't even put that pressure on yourself, because what this person is walking through, there's not going to be one statement that's going to change how they're feeling. So just be there. The ministry of presence is priceless. The ministry of presence, I never understood how someone just being present, or someone just sending you a text saying, just sending you love, just thinking of you today, sis. You know what I'm saying? Just holding you up in prayer. I'm hoping to hold your arms up. That means the absolute world, because there's not going to be just one thing that you're going to be able to say to make that person feel better. Also, if that person desires to talk about their loved one that's been called home, allow them to do so. Sometimes it makes us so uncomfortable that we make the person who's walking through grief uncomfortable because they want to bring up their loved one. I think years ago it was kind of taboo. Like, I know people who have lost a child, and so if they had 6 children and they lost a child who went home to glory, they would start saying that they have 5 children. Whereas we choose to walk in it differently. Someone's like, so now you have 2 daughters? Oh, no. Forevermore, I have 3. And now I have 4 because I have a bonus daughter, but there will never be a time, or so now you have 1 sister. Oh, no, no, no. Forevermore, I have 2 sisters. You know what I'm saying? So this person is still in a tremendous part of my life, and I will never dismiss what they are to me. And what I love is that love transcends. And so I can feel the presence of my daughters here on earth, and I can also feel the presence of my sister and my daughter in heaven. And those are big things. So I'm hoping that people will welcome me if I want to bring up a memory and say, you know what, Braxton used to do that, or Braxton loved that flower, for them to not cringe up and then make me feel bad because I want to speak on my loved one.
That's so powerful. And your story is so powerful. And you having the courage to share it. Having that courage. Can you tell us, if someone else is going through something, how do you share? Where do you start?
You know, Charlene, growing up also, you know, back in the day, they would say, keep your dirty laundry at home, you know? And so, but I really felt like when I knew someone had walked through it, it gave me the strength to know that I could walk through it. And even if our stories weren't the same, if she could walk through that and come out on the other side, if Iyanla Vanzant, you know, could walk through what she walked through and come out on the other side and be able to coach people and fix their lives and change their lives, then I can be able to do that too. If someone has walked through molestation, or someone has walked through a horrible divorce, or whatever it is that they've walked through, and they can come out on the other side, then that gives me hope that I can too. So a lot of times what you're walking through helps to give a blueprint for somebody else. Now, granted, that's not the assignment we want, but you know, yes, but okay, if this is the assignment that I have, then I'm going to walk strong in it, because I don't want anyone feeling the way that I did. And if it's something that I can say to make someone feel some hope, then absolutely I desire to share that.
Yes, and you supplied us with so many great tips. I love how you talked about finding your inner child, right? There was once a time when we were so happy and joyful. The small things just made us smile with joy, right? So how do we get that back? And then you talked about watching TV, your favorite shows, Good Times. I love it. Yes, yes. Anybody else, if you are wondering what your next step is, or if you took inspiration away from Latricia's story, type in the comments. Let us know what you are going to do on your journey to make sure that nothing at all gets in the way of your joy. Before we wrap up, Latricia, are there any parting words that you want to leave us with, or any words of inspiration that we can take right now?
Family, I just want you to walk. I want you to walk towards fear. I want you to walk in faith, because walking towards fear is what faith is. I want you to stand 10 toes on the fact that you will be victorious. And for those of you who believe in scripture, Ephesians 3:20 says that he will do exceedingly and abundantly more than you dare dream, ask, or think. And sometimes we think that that's just something materialistic, but it's also in healing. It's also, I didn't think I would be able to make it to be in a place where I could speak to you, but that is a part of him doing exceedingly and abundantly more as well. And so, whatever it is that you believe on, you walk in faith and you stand on that. You stand 10 toes on it and know that you will be on the other side and you will have a testimony to share. There will be a message out of your mess. You make it so.
Yes, turning your mess into a message, your test into a testimony. I love it. If you want to follow Latricia Lofton Russell, go on Instagram, latricia.lofton. And is there anywhere else that people can find you?
Sure. So Facebook, because you know us older ones, we're Facebookers. And so I'm Latricia Lofton Russell on Facebook. As Charlene said, Latricia.Lofton on Instagram, and also on what was formerly known as Twitter. X, I think is what it's called. It's Latricia Russell, Latricia Lofton as well. And so, family, I would love, for us to connect. And I'm just grateful for people like you, Charlene, who bring power together and, give us things that we can stand on and rest on, for us to, join together in sisterhood and make it to the other side. So bless you and thank you.
Amen. Thank you for blessing us in this way. You heard it from Latricia Lofton Russell, learning how to walk in joy again. Thank you.
Amen.
Wow, wow, wow. I am so inspired to make 2024 the best year I have ever lived. Type in the comments and let me know what you think about our first Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit of the year. This was an amazing way to kick off your networking. Make sure you follow the speakers. You can follow me at Charlene Reinhardt. It was a great way to network with the people in the group. In the comments, network with each other. Like I said, you never know who has what you need, and you may be the missing piece to somebody else's journey or goal. But this was a great way to kick off your new year and set the tone for what you expect. You have to expect great things in order to see them appear in your life. I want to thank all the speakers who came on board to share their expertise. We thank you for sharing your knowledge. And that's what we all have to do. We all have to be intentional with our time so that we can have some time to think about our gifts. Think about those things we are called to do in this season and in our lives. And what are those things that we need to add to our to-do list? And what are those things that we need to add to our to-do list and subtract from our to-do list to get closer to fulfilling our call on this earth? Think about that. Type in the comments, what are your thoughts? What do you want to see more of in the upcoming months? Because, of course, we have more summits coming up. So make sure you subscribe to Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel so you can get notified when we have any upcoming summits or any videos to help you make this the best financial year of your life. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wealthy Women Daily. We are giving information every week. Why? Because that's what I am called to do in this season. That's what I'm going to do in this season. So think about it. What are you going to do in this season? How do you want to make an impact? How do you want to leave 2024 better than 2023? I'm so glad to see everybody connecting in the chat because this is exactly why we are here. It is a networking party online for everyone who attends. I always tell people, make sure you walk away with at least one connection. Who is that one person that you are leaving this summit with? Because you don't want to leave this summit the same way you came in here with. So go in the chat right now. If you don't have anybody in the comments who's going to be your accountability partner and hold you accountable to the goals that you set, to the vision that's in your mind, make sure you find that person. And also find that person and make sure they're on the next summit, right? You want to make sure that you are continuously doing the things that will get you closer to your goal. If you haven't signed up for the 3-day investing challenge, make sure you do that. The link is in the comments. Sign up for the 3-day investing challenge if you are ready to invest in you so that you can invest in assets that will pay you. All right. Well, we are going to wrap up this summit and get ready for our next summit. I want to thank you. Thank the speakers. Thank you for participating. Thank you for showing up for yourself. And I wish you an amazing 2024. I can't wait to hear how your year unfolds.